Okay, so as not to delay, we might get started. So my name is Laura Egan O'Brien. I'm the marketing manager for the College of Engineering and Architecture here in UCD, and I'm going to be your host for the session today. I'd like to welcome everyone for joining us. Thanks for taking the time. Hopefully you'll find it really useful and you have a good experience with us today. This is the second webinar we've had in our Talk Graduate event series that we're hosting this week. This is all about programs within our School of Electrical Electronic Engineering. You're going to get a chance to hear from our head of school, Professor Peter Kennedy, and then also some students. We have some of our current students giving you a little bit of an overview of their journey so far and more about the student experience. We have Lucia, who is currently studying within our program for biomedical engineering. We also have Anamika, who is studying electrical power engineering with us here. And then hopefully we might be joined then by Jack, who is currently studying our ME or 2-year program in electronic and computer engineering also. So just some housekeeping before we get started. This session is being recorded. So if you miss anything or you know anyone who couldn't get a chance to join us today but would be interested in the information that we have, the recording will be available on our college YouTube channel sometime early next week. My colleague Katie O'Neill, who is also joining us, might pop a link to that in the chat, and also keep an eye on the chat there as well, because Katie might post some useful links that we might mention throughout the webinar today. Also to let you know that if you have any questions for us today, we are more than happy to try and answer them as best as we can. You can type your questions in using the Q&A button, which is located in the control panel at the bottom of your screen. Type the questions in as they come to you, but we leave them towards the end of the session to get through as many as we can in the time that we have available to us today. Also, just to let you know, the email that you would have got from me giving you the link for today's webinar would have also had a link to our college's event landing page. It's useful information there if you hadn't had a chance to check it out. Things like links to our brochures for program information, links to the UCD virtual campus tour if you haven't had a chance to come to campus, also some links to our alumni showcase and some research impact case studies from academics as well. So lots of good information if you haven't had a chance to check it out. And my colleague Katie might pop a link up to that page in our chat as well, so you can grab that there. So without further ado, we might get started with the programming that we have on today. So first up, as I mentioned, is Professor Peter Kennedy, who is our head of school for electrical electronic engineering, and he's going to give you a bit of an overview of the school and what it has to offer.
Okay, thanks very much, Laura. Welcome to all the attendees. I know that when it comes to your postgraduate studies, you have many choices, and I'm delighted that you're considering coming to UCD. So maybe you know something about Ireland, maybe you don't. I'll just suggest to you why you might be interested in Ireland and why you might be interested in UCD in particular. So in our School of Electrical and Electronic Engineering, in Ireland, we make this distinction between electronic and electrical. Electronic meaning light electricity, so low voltage typically, and electrical meaning the power side of things. So in the school, we have 3 different areas, basically. We have biomedical engineering, electronic engineering, and the electrical or power side. The reason these are important to us, the reason these are important to Ireland is there's a huge and growing biomedical industry. There's a huge presence in Ireland on the manufacturing side and increasingly on the design side, with an emphasis towards both the materials and also signal processing aspects of biomedical. So graduates of our programs, many of them end up working in these companies. They're multinationals that have branches in Ireland, and they'll have branches in other parts of the world as well. And one of the advantages of taking our programs, especially for international students, is that afterwards you can work in Ireland. You get a work permit. The second area is power. Ireland, because it is an island, always was in a special position because we had to solve the problem of integrating renewables in the electrical power grid before many other countries had to deal with this. So we've huge expertise, and Ireland is a recognized center of excellence in the integration of renewables into power grids. So it's increasingly important, and we attract a lot of international students who want to learn more about how Ireland did it and then take that back to their own countries. On the electronic side, again, we have huge multinational companies like Intel, Analog Devices, Qualcomm, and others who specialize both in manufacturing integrated circuits and designing integrated circuits in Ireland. There's particular emphasis on data converters and also on RF circuits. So if you have an interest in those areas, we have particular expertise, and there are great opportunities to work in those industries afterwards. So just in terms of our programs, our own students typically have a 4-year undergraduate bachelor's degree, which is like an American degree or Indian, or in other parts of the world with this 4-year degree. We also have a 5-year master's degree, and some of our own students will take the 5-year master's degree. If you're coming from outside, you can enter either the 1-year accelerated MNGSC program, which is basically 2 trimesters of coursework and then a project over the summer. So it's a 12-month program. Alternatively, you can enter the ME program, which our own students take. Now, the ME program is a 2-year program. But the advantage of the ME is that in the first year, half of that you have a work placement. So the first year you have coursework for half a year, a work placement for the other half of the year, and then in your second year you have more coursework and a project, but it's a 2-year program. So those are the main offerings. We have other offerings. We have professional diploma courses for people who are coming from industry, or for people who just want to collect a small number of modules. And then, of course, if you're interested in PhD studies or doctoral studies afterwards, there are opportunities for that. So that's a brief introduction to what we do. As I said, thank you very much for considering us. You will now hear from some of our students who are in the system, and then we'll be happy to take questions later. So I pass it to Lucia.
Great, thank you very much, Peter. That was good for everyone to get an overview of the programs available within the school. So yes, next up we have is our first student speaker. Lucia is doing our, as I said at the start, our 2-year program in biomedical engineering. If you want to give us a bit of an insight into your journey so far.
Hi everyone, yeah, my name is Lucia. I am currently doing my master's degree in biomedical engineering, and as Peter Kennedy mentioned, I come from the bachelor's degree as well. So how it works is you start your bachelor's, and instead of doing 1, 2, 3, and 4 years, your 4th year is part of the master's degree. So instead of doing 6 years in total, I'm doing 5, which is great. And it was definitely one of the reasons why I decided to continue on. It's an added value to your career, as you have that extra degree in a way, and it just helps you also specialize in something you are interested in. So for me, up to 3rd year, we were doing a lot of mechanical and electrical and electronic work, but I wanted a bit of more specialized work in the biomedical field, and the master's definitely presented me with that opportunity. I will also admit that a big part of it was the co-op placement. So being able to be in the industry for up to 8 months was a great opportunity. It was really well structured from the start to the end. So through UCD, we were able to select which companies we were interested in. All the interview process was very clean. The company I was actually applying for and I was really interested for had their interview process before the rest of them. So it was actually great for me because I got everything done quite early on last year, and it took a lot of stress away from me. So it was a great opportunity. Then the co-op placement obviously has introduced me to industry and understanding how companies work and what the biomedical engineering field actually is like. And it's definitely something that's opened my eyes. And then the next big part of the master's program would be your thesis. So from the beginning up to now, it's due in 2 weeks. I've actually felt like I've had a lot of support, which has been great. I've had support from my own supervisor and people in the same field, but also from other lecturers or staff in UCD. When I've needed help, they've always been very welcoming and giving me time, and that's been great. So it's been a really, really good experience the past 5 years. I will admit I am excited to be done. It's been 5 years, so I am excited to just take a break from studying. but I could not recommend it any more. So yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know.
Great, thank you so much. I'm sure we have people attending who are interested in biomedical, so I'm sure they'll have some questions for you as well in the Q&A part of the webinar today. So next up we have is Anamika, who is currently studying our our 2-year program in electrical power engineering. So Anamika, if you want to talk to us a little bit about your experience so far.
Thank you, Laura. Hi, everyone. My name is Anamika, and I am an electrical engineer. I would like to give you a little bit of background. So I was born in a remote Himalayan village in India, and I got my graduation back in 2013 in electrical engineering. So my state has many big hydroelectric power plants, which is why I was more influenced to pick my career in electrical engineering. I have 7 years of experience working with my state electricity board. And throughout those 7 years, I always wanted to get a postgraduate degree. So at the time of picking my master's, I compared all the different colleges and modules in Ireland. I studied about the modules, and my interests and past experiences mostly aligned with the modules offered by UCD, which is why I chose a 2 years master's program in electrical power engineering. The structure of the program was such that I was also able to get some practical experience in Ireland, and an international practical experience was always my top priority. I had a vague idea that getting a master's degree would definitely benefit my career. But now that I'm almost about to graduate, I see that I've gained huge amount of knowledge. So professionally, I'm now more aware of technical advancements in the industry. I have better understanding of how things works in terms of electrical and energy sector because of vast number of assignments and practical work we did. I have experience of working in 2 countries because I got the opportunity to do a 6 months of internship with the company through UCD. It was a very good practical experience, and during my internship, I also got the opportunity to prepare myself for upcoming interviews. So from the first year itself, the course is designed in such a way that the student will prepare their CVs, they will curate the CVs and do many mock interviews. Personally, I would say that my punctuality has improved. Due to the course structure in UCD, I have learned time management skills, and I have learned the importance of prioritizing tasks. So the faculty and the professors that I have learned from are the best in their fields. I have met some extraordinary teachers who made learning about the technical concepts very much fun. I have upskilled myself by doing the modules, and I've learned Python programming as well. And I'm sure there is lack of electrical engineers who have experience in programming as well. So there was a time in my second year where I wanted to change my one of my modules, and I wanted to study project management, which is much more relevant to the industrial sector. So I got the chance to do that as well. In terms of my career, I'm very happy to say that I've landed a job with EirGrid. EirGrid is a national transmission system operator, and UCD has helped me a lot to get that, as in the project that I'm doing is currently has a real-time Irish electrical grid modeled in one of UCD's labs, and it gave me a first-hand experience of working in current scenarios that Ireland faces. As Professor Peter said, that there's huge amount of renewable to be integrated in Ireland. So it helped me prepare for that. I also took help from the career network in UCD. I arranged for mock interviews, and I got every bit of help that I wanted from UCD. So that's been my experience. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you so much, Anamika. every year we always get a lot of Indian students applying to our program, so I'm sure it's great for those attendees with us today that potentially are from India to hear from a fellow Indian student, which is great. So the last student that we have up is Jack, who is currently doing our electronic and computer engineering program with us, and he's going to talk to you about his experience so far. So Jack, it's up to you.
Thank you, Laura. Yeah, so I'm doing electronic and computer engineering with another series, we lead straight into the two. My main kind of motivation for picking it really was the internship, because throughout my bachelor's degree, I'm not sure what it's like from wherever you did your undergrad, but we didn't really get any taste of the real world, so to speak. So it was lovely to kind of get that experience and build that network. And since then, I've actually gotten an graduate offer, and I'm going to be working with the same company I interned with in September. And you'll find that that's very common. A lot of people who intern with companies, they'll at the very least will get a graduate interview or some sort of conversation from their colleagues about working with them in the future. So that's excellent. In terms of the course structure and the modules, a lot of the content, there's a lot of flexibility I found to study exactly what I wanted to do. I knew from an early point in, I want to say, second year of the bachelor's that I wanted to do digital system design, and then later on there was digital embedded systems that I'm doing now. So and there's other people who are more interested in communications. They're able to do wireless systems or a number of different modules, a lot of flexibility essentially. So you'd be doing in our degree, like it varies slightly depending on the stream, whether your thesis is 20 credits or 25 credits if you're doing the 2-year one. And for me, it was 4 modules before Christmas, 3 modules after. So you have enough time to work on your thesis and kind of develop that skill set as well of researching and compiling information, which will stand to you throughout the rest of your career. I think I've covered most of the bases there, but yeah, it's a highly flexible degree. It is hard, of course, it's hard. Everything we're doing is so. I am definitely like Lucy was there earlier. I am glad to be done with it now next week, handing up the thesis. But it's been a very worthwhile experience, and I think it'll stand to me for a very long time. So thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I'm here.
Great, thank you so much to all our students and to Peter for presenting a little bit there, giving us an insight into the programs and potentially what it's like to study with us here in UCD. So we're going to open up the floor to questions now for attendees to get any questions that you have answered. Now is the time. Preferably if you could use the Q&A button, which is located in the control panel at the bottom of your screen, that would be great. But I do know that my colleague Katie's got some private messages in as well. So we will get through those in the time that we have left as well. So I might ask all our presenters to turn their cameras on and their sound on, and we'll answer as many questions as we can. So there was one that came in quite early from one of our attendees, and it was that they've applied for both the ME and the MNGC degree for electronic and computer engineering, and they were just confused maybe what the differences within the programs are, and then the job interviews maybe that they're coming out of potentially if they've only done the 1-year versus the 2-year program. Peter, I don't know if you wanted to answer that from an academic point of view, and then maybe Jack, you could answer from a student point of view.
Okay, I'll take that one. From our 2-year ME is really intended for the European 3+2 structure of degrees. So a person who has a 3-year bachelor's degree then does a 2-year master's on top of that. And that's how we have the 5-year degree, which would be equivalent to continental European 5-year degrees. So the structure of the year is in the first of those 2 years, you do 1 trimester of coursework, and then you have a work placement for 8 months, and that work placement is arranged by the university. You apply to companies, but it's all the university helps you prepare your CV and helps you apply for jobs. So that's the first year, and then in the second year you do more coursework and you do a pretty large research thesis. So that's the 2-year ME program. Now, the MNGC is really designed for those who already have a 4-year bachelor's degree. So a student coming from India, China, America, who has a 4-year bachelor's degree, you can add on a master's degree. It's an accelerated program. You do 2 trimesters, so basically September to May of coursework. And then there's a smaller project over the summer. It's a 3-month project over the summer. We don't help you with, we don't arrange a job for you, but you have the opportunity to work, to apply for jobs. And then after you complete the degree, you can have a work permit if you're a non-national to stay in the country and take up a job. But we don't formally help organize it for you.
Great. And then Jack, you stayed with us for your undergrad, and now you've come to masters. You were always going to really do the 2-year program. But do you find that having that work placement within the curriculum has helped you obviously get a job and be prepared for the world of work at the end of your degree?
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's a very important part of the structure, and it's kind of what makes you motivated to finish out the rest of the degree. Because I think when you get a taste for that kind of lifestyle, it is a little bit hard to go back. But I will say as well that, like, even with the ME as well, that in a lot of the graduate offers that I was seeing, there's a slight pay bump with the exact same job if they do see the ME. So for my offer, there was, I think it was 2,000. I think it was two or 3,000 euro extra that I'll be getting in September that I wouldn't have got without the master's degree. So it does kind of begin to pay for itself.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jack. You were just breaking up a bit, I think, but we got most of it there. Anamika, we might come to you. Obviously, you're an international student. You're coming from India to study with us. How did you find the transition moving to Ireland? And how did you find you settled in quite well, or there were supports available for you for making that transition?
Yeah, I would say that it was pretty difficult at the beginning. The hardest thing is to understand the accent, because Irish accent is pretty hard for us Indians to understand, but you settle in quite well after some time. I mostly learned what and how to speak English here, and while traveling in bus, I would listen to people very closely to what they're saying. At first, it was all gibberish to me, but then I understood. Also, internship helped me a lot because I worked with Irish people, so I understood, and now I'm much better at understanding that as well. And coming in from India, where you leave your home back home, and you do all your chores yourself and you manage your time yourself. And I would say that the first semester is the hardest because you have much more modules to do. If you're doing an internship, you have more number of modules, and then because I was working previously, so I didn't have the momentum of studying daily, so it took me a while to settle in. But I think it's the amount of support that UCD gives, even like preparing for mock interviews, the student groups that there are, and if you are, you will always find someone struggling and going through the same things that you are going, and you can always talk and discuss with the students, with the other professors and career counselors, etc., to discuss the problems that you're having, and they can always give you some guidance on how to manage your time and how to improve your skills in everything.
Great. I'm sure that's a comfort for our attendees listening in, that there is supports available, and we're delighted that you settled in and you've stayed with us, which is great. So then there's another question for Lucia. You mentioned that obviously you did the 5-year program, the undergrad, with us as well. Did you find that many of your classmates decided to do the full 5-year program and stay for the masters, or did some finish at the end of the 4 years?
I think it was actually quite surprising for most of us who do come from the undergrad as well to see how many people continued on to do the masters. I think it was definitely, I wouldn't be able to give you numbers, but like it would have been more people continue to do the masters than just finish off the undergrad, which was great. And I think it is just a great opportunity. And although it may feel like an extra year, you are getting those 8-9 months of industry experience, and it does serve as a break. As Jack said, it was hard getting back to studying, especially when you know what it's like to maybe be done at 5 p.m. and not have to worry about anything else, or having like that like independence. But I 100% think it was worth it. And it, as Jack said, like you can see it paying off already, whether it's through offers or just opportunities are like thrown at you. Like it is definitely going to pay off.
Yeah, great. It sounds like the internship is a really integral part of those 2-year
Yeah,
program
100%.
curriculums.
I would not do it without the internship. So,
Okay, great. And then another question we had was, Peter, I might direct this to you. Obviously, it's a very research intensive school. Do you find that the research influences the teaching within the school? And also, is there opportunities potentially for students who may be looking to do like a research master's or PhD in the future within the school?
Yeah, I'd say as researchers, we're always on the lookout for smart students, okay? And one of the ways we fish for smart students is by teaching subjects that we really love. So for example, in the school doing research, we have a guy called Bogdan Staszewski. Now, Bogdan is the inventor of the digital face lock loop, which is the core of mobile phones. He luckily is with us. He's the biggest star in the world in this field. And he teaches 2 classes, one on analog circuit design and one on mixed signal circuit design. And he fishes in that class for potential PhD students, but also any student who takes that class puts on their CV, I took that module from Bogdan Staszewski, and they instantly get a very good job. Same is true, Anding Xu, we're a leader in power amplifiers for mobile phones. Anybody who takes his class gets the best jobs in that field. So it's same in the power area or the biomedical area. You can take classes, advanced classes at master's level from real experts in the field. And that's what you want when you do a master's program. So
yes,
it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, the level of teaching and exposure that the students are getting sounds like it's quite good. Then just to go back to the internships, we got a question on a student worrying that they wouldn't get an internship or what happens. Could maybe one of you who's done the internship explain the kind of process of getting those internships and logistically what that looks like?
sure, I can go ahead if you want.
Sure.
So as Anamika said, like it's a whole process as well, where like you could start potentially with CV building and mock interviews, etc. But usually how it happens is you're given a link, or in your student portal, you'll have like a list of suitable internships for you. And it like the list is quite long. And then what you do is you submit your CV for these internships, and they will be reviewed by the other side, and then you get reached out. So basically, if they want an interview, you should be taking it, and that interaction is mostly between you and the employer. Then if you are accepted, it seems to be the other way. So it's between the employer and UCD, and then you get communicated. And it is quite smooth. That's absolutely fine. I've read in the question, obviously, if it was hard finding or securing the internship. From what I've heard and word of mouth, for me, it was quite simple. I was very lucky in that the process was really, really fast and smooth and quite early on the semester. But I don't remember anyone not finding an internship. I do remember one case of someone who was struggling, for example, and even at that, by the start of the semester where we were meant to have our co-op placements, they had something secured. So there is also the opportunity to go and find one for yourself. If you're really interested in a company, if you think that maybe you're not getting anywhere through the UCD process, there is that opportunity. So I don't think anyone didn't find an internship. Once again, I don't know the like logistics, but that's from my understanding.
Great,
Yeah,
thank you
I
very
can
much.
also say, I could also add to that and say that I was quite late getting my internship. I think it was week 10 or week 11 or something. So that would be about mid-November. And I was quite nervous about it, but there was, and there was another one of my friends who didn't get a job until December. I think it was a study week or exam week. But everyone did get a placement, and the placements all worked out. And it wasn't a case of all the bad ones that nobody wanted were shoved to the end. Those were actually really good placements, because I feel really lucky with the one that I got, and work conditions office, had the crack, free chocolate in the office as well. That was nice. But my friend went off to work for Corvo, and they treated him really well at Corvo. He's gone to work for a graduate, and that's actually RF as well, because Kennedy was mentioning landing shoe and RF circuits earlier. That's actually an RF company. But I would say Reno put in a question there about a research project. I'm not sure if that was answered already, but it just kind of pointed out because it's marked as open on the Zoom.
Sure, yeah, if you have any comments on that, yeah.
I don't have any comment on it, but I think Peter can be better equipped to answer that question.
Okay, sorry, I just saw now. Okay, the chance of getting involved in a research project. Okay. Yes, you can switch to, okay. We were talking about jobs. There is a huge shortage of people in Ireland at the moment, and therefore we have no problem placing students with internships. There are more jobs than there are students available across the entire country. So that's not really an issue at the moment. We're also very short of PhD students. So I think everybody has open vacancies for PhD students. If you are in a class and you impress the person teaching the class that you're a smart person with great potential and you're motivated, I would say there are very strong chances of getting into a PhD. Now, you mightn't be able to switch directly, but if you were in the one-year master's, for example, and you wanted to continue into the PhD at the end, that could certainly work. It would probably be a bit more difficult from the ME.
Sure. And then for students who are just going to be doing the minor thesis or the research project at the end, how flexible is it picking those topics? And are they all pre-assigned, or do students get to come up with their own ideas? How does that normally work?
Okay, so in terms of final year projects, the default is that we as academics would like students to work with us on the kinds of things that we're interested in. So if we have research projects in an area, we'll typically have an undergraduate project or a master's project that's also in that area. So that would be the default position. Now, students who have been out on a placement in industry can go approach a supervisor with a project that they'd like to look at, like to work on, and just ask that supervisor to supervise that project. That also works. So there are two ways of doing it. The default is we have things we'd like people to work on, and the other way is you bring things you're passionate about.
Okay, that sounds really good. And then there was one other question just on the internships. Lucia, this is for you, I suppose. The biomedical engineering program, you can do a short placement, or you can do a long placement. How does that work for you, or are you getting supports to decide, or what happens if you choose the short placement, if you know?
So I personally did the long placement, and I think it is obviously down to what you prefer. What I would recommend is, because it does take time to settle down and it does take time to understand a project fully, especially if you haven't had much experience in the industry. And it's not only understanding the project you're working on, but how the structure of a company. For example, in the biomedical field, there's a lot of preclinical stages, clinical stages, design stages, etc. So if you want exposure to all of it, I would definitely recommend doing the long-term internship. I don't really know anyone who did the short term, so I wouldn't be able to talk for them. From my experience, I do recommend the long term over short term.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, I think majority of students do choose the long placement. For those students who maybe do take the short one, they just replace those additional that additional time with credit bearing modules that they would do instead. But I think, as Lucy said, the internship is so important and such a good aspect of the course that they are kind of mostly choosing that. And as they mentioned, the supports around actually getting the internship and securing the placements are quite good. And we have two internship managers who do a lot of that groundwork with the students and the companies to make sure that students are getting placed. And most of the companies, as you'll have heard, a lot of students are getting jobs from these kind of placements that they're having, that the companies use it as an extended job kind of interview process, that if students do well on the placement, they're more likely to get that job offer for that company when they're finished the degree. And the students are free to take it if they want. Most do, but it's also you can get other jobs. There's plenty of opportunities out there for students, particularly within the spaces and the industries related to the degrees and programs that we have within the School of Electrical Electronic Engineering. I think that's all the open questions that we have. So get the last few questions in if any of our attendees do have it. But if not, we might finish the webinar there. I want to say a big thank you to our presenters, to Peter Kennedy and our students for joining us today, giving your insights and experience that you've had so far with us. Thank you to Katie for managing the chat there for us as well. And you'll see that Katie has also just popped a link to her email address and my email address. So if you do have follow-up questions after today, please reach out to us directly via email. We're more than happy to set up a call or answer any questions that you have via email that way. But that's all we have. I want to just highlight again, if you missed anything or you didn't get a chance to hear something or anything like that, we are putting the recording of the session today up on our YouTube channel early next week. And my colleague Katie, again, popped a link to our YouTube channel up there earlier in the session. So to check that out if you want to, or share it with any people that you might know who might be interested in the content that we talked about today. And then Lucia's also put her email address up there as well. So if you want to ask her any questions after today, grab that email address there, and she's more than happy to chat with you via email as well. So again, thank you. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you for joining us. Bye.